I'll call this June the 9th meeting of the Christiansburg Town Council to order. We will observe a moment of reflection, and I know there are so many things we need to reflect, the things going on within the nation and the town and the county and the state. So let's take a moment of reflection. Thank you. Would you all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have an adjustment to the agenda. I will call your attention to section 8. Items A and B are listed in the agenda as resolutions. They are both ordinances and are so reflected in the ordinance. Any other adjustments to the agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion to make the adjustment. I got everybody on mute, guys.
I so move to accept your adjustment.
Okay, I'll do second.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? I will note for the record that. Yes.
Can I excuse you for a minute? I guess we should fix the agenda and maybe potentially just addressing letter G under the consent bill, under the consent agenda, I guess. For discussion and action by mayor.
I haven't got the consent agenda yet. This is just adjustments to the, now is there something you wanted to discuss on the consent agenda?
Well, yes, I guess why to wait for the end when we can do it right there up front. There is going to be a discussion about entering into a closed meeting tonight. But since there is chances of going into litigation and stuff like that by an email that was sent by Mrs. Sachs this week.
That's under discussions by mayor and council. It's not under the consent agenda.
Okay, sounds good, sir.
So if you'd like to strike that, move to strike that discussion.
No, let's go right ahead and go with the other points and then we'll come back to this one, I guess.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, will you poll council?
Yes, sir. Councilman Bishop?
Aye.
Councilwoman Hicks?
Aye.
Councilman Huppert?
Aye.
Councilwoman Sachs?
Aye.
Councilman Showalter?
Aye.
Councilman Stipes?
Aye.
That is 6-0. We'll make those changes as we come to them. Next on the agenda is the approval of the, there are no public hearings scheduled for tonight. Under the consent agenda, we have 5 items. Approval of the minutes of May 26, 2020. Approval of change order number 2 totaling $293,000 for FY 2020 primary extension and annual paving. Resolution support of projects and use of bond financing by the New Valley Regional Water Authority. Scheduled public hearing on July the 28th, 2020 for a rezoning request by Caldwell Construction for property owned by Sandra Hawks and Janice Blevins et al., located between the eastern and western terminus of Vinnie Avenue, tax map number 435A-45. The request is to rezone the approximate 4.52 acre parcel from R1A rural residential to R1 single family residential. The property is designated as residential on the future land use map of the 2013 Christiansburg Comprehensive Plan, and schedule a public hearing for July 28th. Conditional use permit contingent on the preceding request. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make a motion, we approve the agenda.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussions? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. Councilman Bishop,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hicks,
Aye.
Councilman Hubbard,
Aye.
Councilwoman Sacks,
Aye.
Councilman Showalter,
Aye.
Councilman Stipes.
Aye.
Okay, that passed unanimously. We have no introductions and presentations tonight, and I'm aware of the only one citizen's comment. It was sent in an email to Councilwoman Sacks from Michelle Reiner, who lives in New River Village. I would like your assistance at the town council meeting. I would like to thank the Public Works Department for fixing the water pressure issue out in New River Village. I can't tell you how amazing it is to have water pressure. So, thank you.
That's great.
There are no committee reports, I believe, as we have had no committee meetings.
Actually,
Hopefully-
Mayor, I have a report.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we've had several airport committee for the Virginia Tech Montgomery Executive Airport. Just to bring council up to date, we're in the process of hiring a new airport director, as Michael St. Jean is retiring in July. Those the final interviews for 2 candidates are Monday and Tuesday of next week. And also at the same time, Al Bowman, who is retiring from the Solid Waste Authority, and that's on our agenda tonight for Dr. Sharon Scott. Al Bowman is also retiring from he's the at-large member for the Virginia Tech Montgomery Executive Airport. And so we will be bringing a replacement candidate to town council to fill Mr. Bowman's place as well. So that's an update. By this time next month, we should have a new director for the airport. And then Mr. Bowman, I'll be bringing a candidate to council for consideration, probably not on the 23rd, but probably the first meeting in July. So that's a report from the airport. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have, I believe the Aquatic Center is going to open up on the 15th. Is that correct?
Correct.
And I'm not sure, do you need to get reservations if you want to do lap swimming?
We're limited to, I believe that is correct. We're limited to lap swim.
Thank you.
I believe it's laps and swim lessons, I think, isn't it?
Correct, laps and swim lessons.
Very good. Very good.
And hey, Randy, on top of that, don't you have to reserve your 45 minutes or an hour?
I believe that is the case. They do.
It's
plan
out there on our webpage.
Correct, and they do plan on running the day camp this summer too. They're pursuing sign up for that.
Okay.
I have a question for you. So how is the Aquatic Center opening up and the bowling center? I mean, they're both sports. Do you have an answer to that, Randy?
Well, basically the state mandates, I think, would allow opening of the bowling alley. I guess it's really probably up to the owner's decision unless it's falling under a prohibition under the governor. There's no town regulation prohibiting them from opening.
So what you're saying is they do have to follow the governor's order, but without,
Correct.
But then, so.
Restaurant areas are limited to 50% capacity.
Okay, so does the bowling alley, can they open very soon? Do you have an answer for that? When can they open? Because obviously they bring a lot of people to this area.
Well, like I say, as far as the restaurant service is allowed to be open right now under the governor's mandate. So they could be operating in some manner right now.
And what about the bowling alley? Isn't it a sport?
I think that'd fall under the entertainment provision, under the governor's mandates.
Or wouldn't be the aquatic center? Isn't it the same thing? It's entertainment as well as sport?
I've offered to meet with the owner there, and I'll give them another call and offer to meet with them again. Be glad to do that.
Yes, please find out for me that information. That would be really, really helpful. Thank you, sir.
Sure.
Any other committee reports? Moving on to discussion and actions by mayor and council. The first item is an ordinance to adopt the personal property tax rate fiscal year 2021, and it is not changed from last year. It's still 45 cents per 100. Randy, Val, is that correct?
That's correct.
I'll make a motion, we approve the personal property tax rate at 45 cents as presented.
I second that.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. Councilman Bishop, Councilwoman Hicks,
Aye.
Councilman Hubbard,
Aye.
Councilwoman Sachs,
Aye.
Councilman Showalter,
Aye.
Councilman Stipes,
Aye.
Thank you. That passes 6-0. Ordinance to adopt the real estate tax rate for fiscal year 2020, 2021. And I believe it is staying the same at 16 cents per $100 of market value, market appraisal.
Best value, yes, that's correct.
And that is not a change from last year.
That's correct.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the rates for this year's real estate taxes.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I was gonna make a comment about, as far as the real estate, we are charging for real estate fees to all the businesses that were closed for months. That includes restaurant businesses, that includes bowling alleys, jumping houses, all of the entertainment and different things in the town. Is there a way that the town can come up with an idea as far as using some of the CARES Act money and some of the COVID-19 help to, instead of charging all these businesses that were closed for those months, instead of doing that, can we give them a credit for those months that were not open?
You know, I think it's been explained to you a couple of times, and to us a couple of times, we cannot use the COVID-19 money, period, for anything other than COVID-19. And the CARES Act money, I'm not sure how much is out there. The last I checked, it was not much. And we use the tax assessed rate by the county that they set their taxes with. So I'm not sure that there's anything we can do for that side of it. Now, I think, I'm not sure that we've put anything in as far as, you know, our taxes are not due until the end of December, or till the 1st of December. So hopefully there'll be some recovery time, and maybe we'll have a better grasp on what our economy is going to be by the time these things come due. They could offer a 90-day deferral. I'm not recommending that at this point, but it's something we could do.
But you guys keep telling me that we cannot use any of the money, but Blacksburg and other localities are using some of the money to help business owners, and that also helping people that cannot be able to pay their water bills right now.
Do you know that?
I believe you directed that. You answered that question, Ms. Tweedy, after a conversation with the Blacksburg Finance Director, and that statement is not true.
Can Valerie respond to that for me, please?
She did.
Yeah, Blacksburg is using some of their CDBG money to provide some personal grants to individuals and as well as to businesses and for a variety of things, but they're not using their CARES Act funding for that. They're using CDBG money. They get over $300,000 in CDBG money we've only been approved, I believe, Randy, correct me if I'm wrong, somewhere
62,000?
around 60,000 to be used that way, and that's not, I think that's in contention yet, not been approved.
So if we are able to use 60,000, so if Locksport is able to use $300,000 to do that, we got $60,000. Don't you think that it will be in our best interest to see if there is any way that we can move the money around to help some of the citizens that are hurting during this time?
Like I say, I guess there's multiple pools of money. The CDBG money is, I guess, potentially could be done as a reimbursement. I can't get to a private business, but right now there's, like I say, there's CARES money that's in the form of reserved for medical. There's CARES money that goes to CDBG, and then there's CARES money to localities. The biggest pool of that money that we're really getting is the CARES money to the localities, which is $8.5 million coming to Montgomery County. The town will receive a portion of that, I think approximately 1.8 million of it. Although that money is reserved exclusively for COVID-19 response. We can't use that for reimbursement in any way at this time for lost revenue. We potentially could for COVID-19 response, but like I say, it can't be used for lost revenue. We will have to come up with some criteria for doing that. Basically, like I say, the localities are talking about ways to do that, but we just don't have all the details right now.
Okay. I would love for you to look into, I would love for you guys to look into that and just, because I know the other day when you made the comment about the $60,000 and the other $1 million that we got for the town in response to the COVID-19, who is making those decisions about the disbursement of that money, Randy? Is it you, or are you having additional input from other town council people that I don't know of?
The money went to Montgomery County, so ultimately they'd have to agree with the division of the money. You know, we're basically, the finance directors have been working through a formula for that, and I think we're more or less in agreement with that formula. But like I say, we don't have everything finalized yet.
So once you get the number, you're gonna come back to us and ask us an opinion where the money should go?
Yeah, this is.
Well, it can only be used for COVID-19 response. And the very first thing it has to be something that is specifically refundable under the guidelines. They are very specific. Give you an example, we aren't going to allow charging my time towards it. That's just kind of one of our understandings is that managers' times can't count towards it. Other staff people's times can, but like I say, administrative time apparently can't. There's kind of things we're working through, and some things we don't have strong guidance on either, because there's not necessarily a document. There's list of things that we know we can spend on, like the test kits and the test center, any of the resources associated with that. Those will be some of the first things we'll ask for the money for, is basically reimbursement of those things. Beyond that, you know, kind of after reimbursement of the emergency response, we'll kind of have to work through all of those things.
Okay, listen, this is a discussion on the real estate tax rate. I'm going to call for the vote.
Madam Clerk, will you poll council, please?
Yes, sir. Councilman Bishop,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hicks,
Aye.
Councilman Hubbard,
Aye.
Councilwoman Sachs,
Aye.
Councilman Showalter,
Aye.
Councilman Stipes.
Aye.
That is 6-0. Thank you. The next is the resolution to adopt the annual budget fiscal year 2021. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve the budget as presented.
And I
I'll
second
second.
that.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none,
We
Madam
did-
Clerk?
I was gonna say
Yes, sir.
something.
Okay, go ahead.
I think it's great that we got that budget worked out this year, even though we were gonna go through a crisis. I'm thankful we were able to keep all the employees that we continuously have right now. And I'm just grateful that we made it to, well, we haven't made it to the other side, but I'm just grateful that we still have the ability to pay the employees that we have right now. So I'm grateful for that. And I'm also grateful that Valerie was able to come up with a very conservative budget for this new year. And I hope that we can continue to do that every year. I mean, we were able to save millions of dollars this year. I know some of the infrastructure is not getting done, but as far as having jobs, as far as providing what we are to provide for the citizens of this town, I think, Valerie, you did an excellent job with the budget this year. Thank you. And everybody that, had to add into their budgets.
Thank you.
For all the departments.
Well, I'd like to not only add Val and Randy and Andrew, but I would like to also congratulate the department heads who trimmed their budgets and those type things. So it was a total team effort to reach where we are right
Absolutely.
now. Madam Clerk, if there are no other questions, would you please poll the council?
Yes, sir. Councilman Bishop,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hicks,
Aye.
Councilman Hubbard,
Aye.
Councilwoman Sachs,
Aye.
Councilman Showalter,
Aye.
Councilman Stipes.
Aye.
That is 6-0. The next is a resolution to appropriate budgeted funds for fiscal year 2021.
I so move to appropriate the budget funds for fiscal year 2021.
Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
I second that.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, would you poll council, please?
Yes, sir. Councilman Bishop,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hicks,
Aye.
Councilman Hubbard,
Aye.
Councilwoman Sachs,
Aye.
Councilman Showalter,
Aye.
Councilman Stipes.
Aye.
It is 6-0. Thank you. We need to consider the appointment of Dr. Sharon Scott as the at-large representative to the Montgomery Regional Solid Waste Authority for a 4-year term beginning July 1, 2020. Al Bowman has asked not to be reappointed as the at-large representative after 25 years of service on the board. And I believe this recommendation came from the Solid Waste Authority's board.
Correct.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Can I ask you a question? Who is Sharon Scott?
He's director of the Chamber of Commerce.
The Chamber of Commerce. Okay. And what kind of doctor is she again?
And Mayor, I'd like to make an appointment. I'd like to make a motion to appoint Dr. Sharon Scott as at-large representative to the Montgomery County Regional Waste Authority for a 4-year term beginning July 1st, 2020.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Can anybody tell me about Sharon Scott? Who is she?
You've had the agenda for several days. Have you researched it or not?
I saw it, but I didn't see all the information about her. Do you have any information since you read the agenda?
She is the director of the Chamber of Commerce. She has been that director for 8 years now, at least. And she, as I said, she comes highly recommended by the Water Authority, the Solid Waste Board.
You need to make an appointment to go talk to her and interview her. I think you'll be very pleased.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hopper.
Very good. Madam, if there's no other discussion, Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. Councilman Bishop,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hicks,
Aye.
Councilman Hubbard,
Aye.
Councilwoman Sachs,
Aye.
Councilman Showalter,
Aye.
Councilman Stipes.
Aye.
Very good. That is 6-0. Discussion of potential immediate town actions to alleviate stormwater issues in the College Street area. Randy, is that yours? I
Yes,
take
it is. And prepared a list. I guess you've seen it in the packet. Actually, let me bring it up maybe in a more viewable. Basically, some of the items that we thought we could do immediately, and these are, I guess, relatively low cost for the most part. Basically, the first item is Public Works can kind of give a little attention to the area in regards to ditches, drainage, and inlets for blockages before any expected major rain events. I've already asked Public Works to try to keep an eye on this area just a little extra in case of a known event that's coming. Like I say, just kind of make sure things are clear. That way we don't have blockages. Another item that we could do, planning, engineering, and building inspection staff can identify and speak to property owners in the drainage way in regards to fences and structures in the drainage way, and ask for their cooperation in removing obstacles to the flow of water. I do think engineering staff has kind of already been in that drainage way and spoken to several property owners about fences and things. Engineering staff could review the functionality of the existing stormwater ponds and system and perform inspections in accordance with the MS4 program. And they have been looking at the ponds in that area. They did find that basically the ponds in the area did function according to designs. There's an upstream pond at the middle school property, but it might have been at capacity, but it wasn't over capacity. So it did seem to function as it was designed. There's, of course, like I say, the town, I guess, downstream pond also, but it seemed to function appropriately. Engineering and administrative staff can review project prioritization with town council in regards to stormwater capital projects in the time frame for long-term capital projects for the College Street area. And I think that would be planned to be done either this summer and hopefully for adoption with a fall budget amendment if we have additional monies. And of course, I think we probably will, but like I say, we hope to do some more capital projects than what we've got right now with kind of our bare bones budget. Engineering and administrative staff could review development standards in regards to stormwater for a potential amendment by town council. We basically have minimum standards for state regulations. We do have, I guess, one additional requirement that they do erosion and sediment control plan if it's 10,000 square feet or more disturbed area rather than 1 acre, which is the minimum state requirement. That's kind of one requirement where we're more stringent than the state, but really that's probably about the only way is in regards to erosion, sediment control, and stormwater management that we're really more stringent than the state. Town council requirement for over-design of stormwater for future projects that require conditional use permit approvals and or denial of rezoning requests that don't proffer such improvements when they come to council. That is, and I guess we have required over detention in the College Street area previously with I think at least one prior development in that basin. Town staff support citizens' efforts to work with FEMA and the Army Corps of Engineers to reassess flood boundaries if desired. And although some property owners may disagree with that because basically floodplain designation can lead to additional flood insurance requirements, greater cost for flood insurance, greater restrictions, and potential devaluation of property. So there are some advantages, obviously, to not be in a floodplain. And of course, the town may over-design our own future projects in regard to stormwater, particularly in areas with a past history of stormwater issues, such as the College Street Basin. That's a fairly, I guess, comprehensive list of things we can kind of do right now, and we are going to go ahead and start doing right now. Like I say, I think review of projects is probably more of a summer project with council for hopefully fall budget amendment.
Randy, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Did we get a chance to take a look at the housing development of Radford Road across from the cemetery with that retention pond?
Radford Road off of the cemetery.
Yeah, I can't think of the name of the street. It's right across from the cemetery on your left-hand side to get to
You got the,
I will get the information and send it to you, Randy.
okay. Is that Mr. Diggs?
Correct.
Yes, yes. Yes, I did. And I did pass it on to engineering.
Okay, thank you.
Anything
Randy,
else?
are you done with that?
Unless there's questions or
Well,
discussion.
I have some questions. So far what I have seen in here, the town is really not gonna do anything besides look for a future design to help them with the stormwater. But as far as right now, all you're doing is making the people from these places, you're requiring them to get fly insurance with the fly engineers, and then they're also, not only they lost so much of their property, you're also going to impose fly insurance, which you will also devaluate the property, which I understand that completely. And then with the reassess of the floodplains, there will be more restrictions for sure for future projects, as them being able to build sheds and things like that. That's what good is coming out of this? I want an answer to help them fix the problem, not create more problems for them.
That's probably the most controversial item on there, and that's the reason I called out that some property owners might disagree with that. So I don't
disagree with
necessarily,
this.
I don't necessarily think you pursue that. I just think it's an option. It's like I say, to me, it should probably be driven more by the property owners in the area than it should be by town council. If the property, and I have had at least one property owner in the area say they would like to see it designated as a flood zone, just simply because they would like people to know if they're buying that there's a potential for flooding. But again, like I say, it does tend to devalue properties, and it does basically initiate the requirement for flood insurance if you're in the 100-year floodplain. And that's not a town requirement, that's a federal requirement.
Which with the last floods, the chances are they will be putting into that. And so that category. So how are we able to help them to fix that issue? Because you're saying that this may be, with the town may be able to do something for them in the future, but you're not giving us solutions to fix the problem now.
That's basically where the review of the prioritization of our capital projects comes in this summer. Do we bump prioritization on the storm drain projects that benefit the College Basin up to a higher priority so that they're started quicker? You know,
well,
like
when you're talking about prior other projects, how is it that we are paying for a stormwater projects over here at the marketplace and we're not taking care of citizens like these people? I'm more than sure we're not going to spend $1.3 million on this project right here to fix the situation that they just dealt with the other day.
The majority of the marketplace money was really for the entrance relocation.
Well, you use money for the stormwater. Has that money been given to them already? Probably yes.
We did pay the developer of the marketplace.
Okay, so that's all done. It was under the 2020 budget or 2021 budget?
It was under the current fiscal year budget.
Okay.
1920.
Well, I personally, and I'm only one vote, I would like to see something being done and some help for the citizens that have lost so much during the last several weeks. And that's just my opinion.
Thank you.
Ms. Hicks, you're talking about the marketplace. I'm going to tell you one of the things about being on the town council is being able to look forward to the future, to have a vision. The marketplace is going to be a great support for the town, going to bring in a lot of capital for the town. And for you to say those negative things about it, I think that's unfortunate.
Did I say anything negative about the marketplace, Mr. Hopper? I just said that there is priorities here. And to me, it is a priority to fix the infrastructure of this town. That's a concern to me. That dog that died the other day could have been my child, it could have been somebody else's child, it could have been a person. Infrastructure should be taken care before bring in any other businesses in town. And that's just my opinion.
Well, I think that what we have discussed earlier, it was mentioned in one of the previous meetings that we had online, is we have to make sure that we fix the downstream problem before we can fix the upstream problem, which means the completion of the Hickok Street, the Franklin Street, in order for them to be able to accept more water runoff and to divert the water runoff from up in the First, Second, Third Street areas that are flooding some of the buildings downtown, rerouting the stream and putting that storm water into a culvert and a pipe. I think that's what we have to do first. I think that we've got to get it fixed. We will get College Street fixed, but there is a set of priorities, a set of standards that we have to do in order to make sure that we're not diverting the flood water from College Street and washing out all of downtown Christiansburg. So
Well,
with
I
that,
don't,
I'm sorry.
well, with the marketplace money for the stormwater that was spent, I don't care if it was 1.3 million or what was the amount for that. There was money put into that. The town and country bed clinic did not get that money for the stormwater fees. And which one is that, I mean, how does the stormwater issue over there takes priority over our citizens that are paying the real estate taxes and that live in the town of Christiansburg?
Randy, can you explain the stormwater at the marketplace once more? I believe the past couple meetings you've explained it, and it keeps coming up from Ms. Hicks. So can you go over it once more?
You can also add into that, Randy, the discussion about the sidewalks and why that payment was made.
Sure. The marketplace, of course, had sat vacant for well over a decade, probably going closer to 15 years, largely vacant. And it's kind of seen as a little bit of an eyesore in town, and also potential, lost revenue for the town because it's been sitting there largely vacant for so many years. Town councils expressed desire for the years to see it redevelop. We've approached prior owners about redeveloping the property, basically to just kind of get comments that they would probably pursue it on their own in the future, but they never really did. Basically, I was approached, I guess, about 2 years ago by the current developer of the property in regards to, I consider it kind of more of an economic development project than anything, because it would involve kind of major redevelopment of that whole plaza. Of course, it's very large property, fairly expensive property, and it does suffer from lack of a good entrance along North Franklin Street. It had the two entrances along Pepper's Ferry Road and the entrance along North Franklin Street, which was out of alignment with the signal there at the mall at Shoppers Way. So basically, the largest part of the incentive money was for relocation of the entrance. We also included sidewalk work, which are being dedicated to the town through the plaza, and also the stormwater management area, which was really already serving as a regional stormwater pond without an easement previously. Although I will say this, a lot of the other stormwater from the area was draining to that pond. So basically the town is getting a benefit that we are getting the storm system, and it is a dedicated storm system for a regional stormwater pond. Also, we're getting the benefit of the public sidewalks, which of course pedestrians can use to go through the property, and the benefit of the new entrance, which I think is, like, again, probably the largest reason we did it. That relocation of the entrance had to involve the purchase of the Arby's and relocation of the Arby's. And of course, you're talking millions of dollars in purchase of a business and relocation of a business. And then the grading work, because of course you can see a fair amount of grading work in the area. I'd say just the entrance relocation alone was probably $4 or $5 million. But we did pay $1.38 million towards the entrance relocation, towards the stormwater pond, and basically putting a fence around the stormwater pond, making it deeper and even more, I guess, capacity as a regional pond, and the provision of public sidewalks.
Randy,
If
can
I'm
you
not
expand on
mistaken,
the regional pond?
there were already some stormwater ponds over there. Is that correct? And we paid some money to upgrade the one?
Correct. That larger pond has been upgraded. It's been made a little bit deeper, and plus they, I guess, basically made a graded road into the property, so it's a little bit easier to get down there and provide maintenance to. So, you know, they, like I say, also provided basically the aluminum looking, it looks like a wrought iron fence, but it's actually aluminum around it.
Randy, you mentioned about sidewalks. Sidewalks are very important to have. But we have businesses that have to put in their own sidewalks without reimbursement. So how do you justify that?
I think, like, again, I think it was a little bit of an economic incentive to get them to basically develop the plaza. They're putting, as I've been told, over $50 million in purchasing the property and remodeling the property, reconstruction. That's a huge investment into Christiansburg. And again, we're getting the benefit that it is becoming a regional stormwater pond. You're getting the pedestrian accommodations through the sidewalks. And I think the biggest thing of all is the relocation of the signal. Like I say, that's a very expensive undertaking.
Okay, I'm going to step in here. We're discussing College Street, and we're off in a rabbit hole right here. Randy, I like what you presented, and I'm for it. And if council wants to revisit our priorities for the stormwater program, that's fine. There's been several problems across town solved already because of our focus on that and our stormwater fee. If we want to revisit this at a separate meeting or a work session to reprioritize, I'm all for it, because College Street needs to be addressed, as do other needs in town. But we're off on a rabbit hole right now. I'm gonna try to get us back on track and say, Randy, I support your approach right now. And if we want to have a work session later to talk about reprioritization, that's fine as well.
Yeah, let's do that. That sounds like a great idea, Mr. Brad.
Okay, thank you.
I do have a question for this. Randy, if you could just recap who redoes the floodplain, who initiates a review of it, and because I believe there was a council member actually requested that we expand that, but can you kind of just, who initiates? Is it FEMA that comes in? I believe
it is FEMA. FEMA controls the floodplain mapping, and any amendment to the floodplain has to be through FEMA. So basically there's an application for a map amendment that you would have to do through FEMA. Generally, you have to have some type of accompanying information to certify that it is out of the floodplain or in the floodplain if you're going to have an amendment.
It's a CLOMR. It's a conditional letter of map revision.
And essentially it means you have to have a survey to indicate what the elevation of the property is in relation to the floodplain in the area. So whether it's above floodplain or whether it's not, if it's within the 100-year floodplain, you'll certainly get that designation, and additional regulation goes along with the 100-year floodplain, as does a requirement for flood insurance.
Those are all things through FEMA, not through the town.
But those are all FEMA requirements. Those are all federal requirements, not town requirements.
But Randy, didn't we have the study? We pay for the study, correct? Hill Studios got thousands of dollars for the study. Wasn't that correct?
You're talking the watershed study?
Yes.
I can't, to be honest, off the top of my head, I can't tell you who did the study, but we did pay for the watershed study in that area. And
do you know how much money we pay for that?
Off the top of my head, I can't, but I can get that for you. I've got actually Wayne Nelson's available on the line if you want to bring him into the conversation.
Yeah, because I don't believe College Street, this area that we're talking about today, I don't think is part of that project at all. I looked at the maps that I saw the presentation like twice, and I did not see where this side of College Street is part of one of those projects.
I do think project prioritization is a big discussion, and it probably is a work session item. I don't think you necessarily want to do it here without all the information present.
That would be great, sir.
I think we'd want to have a presentation on that about each one of the projects and kind of go through what the projects accomplish, basically in order to do the prioritization. Like I say, I think that's kind of a little bit of a bigger conversation.
I would like that.
One
Okay,
thing-
we've got a horse in a coma right now. Let's move on, if it's all right with council, on to the next item on the agenda.
You should go and take care of the horse.
Discussion of potential closed meeting in accordance with Code of Virginia 2.2-3711A1 in regards to town council members and the Code of Ethics. This was put on the agenda by a council member. I'm not sure who it was. I have been in conversation over the last week with our attorneys, and I'm going to turn this over to Reed Broughton.
Mike, I
Thank you,
was
Mayor.
going to put it.
Thank you,
Right.
Mr. Hubbard. Mayor, I'm sure everybody knows that meetings of a public body are required to be open unless there's an exception that applies under the Freedom of Information Act. The exceptions are in Virginia Code 2.2-3711. One of those exceptions would apply to the protection of privacy of individuals in personal matters that aren't related to public business. So you could have a closed session to talk about personal matters unrelated to public business. Another exception is in paragraph 1 of the code section A1, and it applies to performance and disciplining public officers. It is limited to talking about disciplining public officers in cases in which, or matters in which council has a right to discipline a public officer. So the town charter allows council to compel attendance, to fine members for disorderly behavior, and to expel a member for malfeasance or misfeasance. There's also a code section 15.2 1400D that authorizes a governing body to punish or fine a member for disorderly behavior. So you could meet in closed session under 2.2-3711A1 for the purpose of discussing matters related to the discipline of a council member for attendance, for disorderly behavior, for malfeasance, or for misfeasance. All would need to be related to official duties, though. I'm happy to answer any questions about that.
So what is
I
your
do.
recommendation on this proposal?
It's not up to me to decide whether you all want to go into closed session, but those exemptions exist if you would like to, if the
Well,
council decides to do it.
It will be up to me too, because the reality is, if Mrs. Sachs said over here that she has requested for, let me see her words right here. She has already consultation from an attorney, so therefore it will be a civil matter. There shouldn't be town council discussion. I am tired of the harassment, the emails, the messages, just because I want to be open to the public. I haven't started yet. And the reality is that I don't have to go to town to an enclosed meeting, because the last time I remember that I went to an enclosed meeting, the one lady, Marisa Sachs, screamed at me for a while, yelled at me, treated me like crap, stood up out of a meeting and left the room after she had a temper tantrum.
So what
Why
is
do I
it-
want to put my position? No, sir, I haven't finished. Why do I want to put myself in a position of that way? I feel harassed majority of the time. The majority of the stuff happens in emails, and the reality is the public needs to know what kind of town council people they have, because the reality is my businesses have been harassed, my personal life has been harassed, my friends have been harassed, their businesses have been harassed. You guys have used public powers to go after some of the business owners in the town. That's wrong. It's so wrong. And I am fed up with this behavior. I shouldn't be the one that gets to be punished all the time for the things the other lady's doing. Who is Jennifer Martin, Marisa Sachs? I really want to know. Because
I'm ending this discussion at this point. I will say this, that I am not in agreement with going into a closed session meeting about this. I will leave it up to council if they would like to pursue some form of closed meeting, but I think that there's going to have to be a very, very strict agenda and a very strict adherence to that agenda.
No,
So my
let's
thought is I don't think we need to.
Let's open
Mr.
it up.
Barber,
Let's open it
I
up.
thought you said the other day to stop this the other day. Why is this still going on? Don't you have control of the council? Because I mean, the reality is when you said that other day, stop this, stop sending these messages. I am fine with that. That's all I want. This job doesn't pay me enough money to have to
Ms. Hicks,
deal
if you
with this harassment.
understand correctly, a lot of this stuff stemmed from emails coming from you and your supporters.
Yes.
Me?
Let's
Stipes.
put it on the agenda for next meeting, open meeting. We'll lay it out. Let's go.
That will be
Yeah.
great because the reality is, Mr. Stipes,
Okay, it's going to go on the next meeting. Thank you very much.
right.
Staff reports. Town manager?
Hope to get back to having committee meetings soon. We are hoping to have a street committee meeting before the next council meeting, June 23rd. I hope you're available for that. We'll send you a date, time, but probably thinking 6 o'clock for that. Also, we want to have meetings with Central Business District Committee, Water and Sewer Solid Waste Committee, and Emergency Services Committees. Get all those back together and get them back on schedule. I'll be getting with members of those committees and just trying to work out schedules going forward. Also, let you know, I've got checked on Governor Executive Order 65, still prohibits bowling alleys from being open. So it's actually governor's order, it still closes all bowling alleys. Like I say, that Terry could still open in capacity as a restaurant, as I understand it. But basically entertainment facilities are still closed under the governor's executive order. Also, let you know, I do have Chief Sisson and Chief Hanks on the line. If you basically give you an update on coronavirus and COVID-19 response.
Yes, Randy, I'd be happy to give an update. Montgomery Regional Health Task Force continues to meet daily, working hard to try to bring our region back to some normalcy. Quick testing update, we have tested over 3,500 individuals in our health district. We have had 94 positive cases in Montgomery, 8 in Floyd, 28 in Pulaski, 5 in Giles, with 17 hospitalizations and unfortunately 3 deaths. Our positive rate in our health district still stands at approximately 4%, and the state average is around 10%. Update on future testing, we tested in Giles County today. We'll test in Blacksburg again on Thursday. Starting next week, the task force will only be offering 1 community testing site per week. The task force focus will shift to workforces, nursing homes, and some other facilities, while still offering at least 1 community test in a week. I'm open to any questions council may have.
Thank you, Mark.
Yes, sir.
Chief Hanks?
Yep. I'm good. Mark covered it very well. Still a lot of effort by a lot of people and a lot of stakeholders in this group to keep this moving forward. And like Chief Sisson said, we're looking toward the future here right now and trying to get back to some normalcy with the town. But we've still got a good group. We're all intact. Everybody's doing well. Proud to be part of the group.
Thank you. Mr. Broughton? Randy, are you through?
Yes, yes.
Mr. Broughton?
I have nothing to add, Your Honor. I mean, Mayor, I would say I'd be happy to meet with any member of council or pair of members of council if they want to talk about any issues of concern.
You want to work with Randy and any council members that would like to meet with you? To go
I'd be
through
happy.
Randy and try to set the time up? Okay.
If council members would want to meet with Reed and I, just reach out to me.
All right. Other staff? Ms. Tweedy?
I do have an update on the meals and lodging tax for April for you. April meals tax were down 53%. We had projected that they would be down 75%. So piece of good news there. April lodging taxes were down 73%. We had projected that they would be down 75%. Our expectation for May is that they'll probably both be down to 75%. Although the restaurants, some of them are holding their own because they tended toward carry-out service anyway, and they're doing more business than they were before. Hopefully June numbers will get better as we start into this phase 2, and they've been able to do outdoor dining, and now opening up to half capacity within the restaurant itself. So hopefully those numbers will improve for next month. On the collections end with water bills, just quick update on that. We sent out about 150 letters this week regarding unpaid bills from March 1st and prior. And we will begin water disconnection on June the 24th. For those bills, we've urged customers to please contact us and set up a payment plan so that we can move that forward. But we will be starting to move forward with collection efforts and trying to get people to set up payment plans and all of those things. So just wanted you to be aware of that. That's it.
Thank you.
Val, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Since the town hall is closed, approximately how many times per day do we check the drop box for payments?
Whoa.
More than once?
About every hour or two.
Okay, thank
We
you.
check it all day long.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Any other staff? Council reports. I'll start with Mr. Stipes.
The only council report I have is continued appreciation for our staff, and especially, well, no, not especially anybody, our staff, including the emergency response folks that are meeting every day and keeping our community safe. I talked with 2 citizens today that had noted just how safe they felt in our community in light of this. One thing I want to bring up is our agenda. Since we've been meeting with Zoom, our agenda for the 23rd, our next regularly scheduled meeting is absolutely packed. And I would like to present to council the idea of holding our meeting beginning at 6 p.m. on the 23rd, if that's okay. And that's it.
Council?
One issue with that is we have advertised public hearings for 7 o'clock.
Well, then we can rearrange the agenda to actually have our public hearings at 7 o'clock. And I understand that. And thank you, Randy. It's just an idea, but it's going to be a long meeting.
Very good. Anything else, Mr. Stipes?
No, sir. Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Showalter?
Mayor, I don't have a committee or a other business to report or council reports, but I would like a discussion to be open this year on creating or replacing a council committee that was removed a few years ago because it really didn't have direction. The human relations one, it's usually reserved for a new member on council. I was on it when I first came in, but there wasn't really any meetings on it. But again, it's something I don't want to have to occur real fast. There has to be discussion and buy-in from council to do it, but I would like to bring that human relations committee back, at least sort of define what it's going to be about. And it looks like we need to do that for the remainder of the year, hopefully by the January, if council agrees to do that, is to bring that back. And it can be called human relations or diversity and inclusion committee set up by council, but it's something I would like at least council to think about. And if we want to move forward, probably here in the next few months, Mayor, if you wish to set up a ad hoc committee to to get its mission together, and then of course start it in January. But again, I don't want there's no point in discussing it tonight. It's just something I'm mentioning that we could form, and then hopefully, if council's on board, have it active by the new year.
Okay.
I kind of like that. Since you're saying that you want to have people probably from different backgrounds and everything else like that, I think I will possibly be the best candidate for that since I don't have a committee.
Very good. Thank you. Appreciate the
Thank you.
volunteer. Mr. Huppert.
I just wanted to say a comment here about the email that Ms. Blevins sent concerning graduation and concerning the outstanding job that Parks and Rec did on the stage. And I wanted to express that. I also wanted to bring out, I'm sure there are some people that do not feel that there's much road work going on in the town of Christiansburg. But I myself feel every time I go somewhere, they are working on the roads and improving them. And I think that they're doing an outstanding job, and I hope that gets on to somebody else. And the last thing I have is I wrote a little letter here, and I thought I might just pass it on here. And it says, during the last several months, our world has really been torn upside down. And so many negative things are happening in our community and in our country. And we have sickness and death and hate, and all of us have been hurt in some way. And basically, this council's meeting right here starts a session. And I'd like to recommend that each of us, we spend some time meditating and praying, just with individuals or with ourselves or with groups, on ways that we can make our society a little bit better. And if we can all work together, hopefully by this fall, we're going to be in going ahead on that. And the final thing I have is I really feel, Ms. Hicks sort of was saying there that the way I got here, that the council and the staff here are not doing a great job. And I disagree with that. And I've been here for 11 years, and I've been proud to be on the Christiansburg Town Council the entire time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bishop?
Yes, I want to once again thank the town staff for their hard work and adapting to changes as we go from day to day. That's all I have.
Ms. Sachs?
Yes, thank you. I do have a few. I just wanted to let the Arts Committee know and Council that we're trying to schedule a meeting at the end of the month. And what I'd like to do is present to Central Business an update. And then Mr. Bishop can do a full update of Central Business when that meeting occurs. The other idea that I had was right now we're all trying to feel good. And there's a campaign, I believe it was started by Marty Young, and it was Christiansburg Strong. And I want to propose to council, I did a quick Google search, and we can get 25,000 2x3 decals that say Christiansburg Strong and anything else we want on them for just under $1,000. And I thought it'd be a wonderful gesture for us to find those funds, purchase these decals, and let everybody in the whole community have a sticker. Put it on your laptop, your water bottle, your car. Be proud of being in Christiansburg. So I would appreciate some thought about that. The second thing is, I know that businesses are suffering horribly. And I've spoken with a lot of them, and everybody's in the same boat, and nobody has that golden ticket. But if council could consider pulling together a task force, a quick committee to discuss how the town can be supported. For me, that would be help with taxes and fees. We don't pretend to have all the answers, but if a few people sit at a table, I feel like we can come up with something powerful to be supportive. And the last thing that I have is I would like for Randy, with council's blessing, to get a legal question answered for me. And that is, can we talk to VML or use our town attorney to determine if a council person goes into a consult with an attorney, is that attorney-client privilege, or is any of that somehow FOIA? And I would appreciate council's support on that. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Ms. Hicks.
Mrs. Sachs, since you got counsel already and you already say you got Mr. Tack to help you, I recommend you ask those questions to him instead of wasting our tax dollars for that. I wanted to thank the Christiansburg Institute for a wonderful event that you had put together this last Saturday. I got to tell you, was so welcomed by our community, and we are so impressed by the work that you're doing in here to unite us and to keep us, to give us a light at the end of this tunnel. And I was so grateful to be there that day, that it did feel, the whole event was just amazing. The prayers and the people that showed up and just the Christians for support. I mean, for what is going on in our country right now. And I tell you, you are a perfect example of what we need to be in this community. Christiansburg Institute, I wish we had a Christiansburg Institute for everybody. I wish my children could go to Christiansburg Institute right now, and it was what it used to be, but with all colors, all races, and bringing us together as children of God. I just think that it was very impressive, and I thank you for that. I also want to thank, I really like what Mr. Hopper said tonight. I have to agree with you, Mr. Hopper, on that, because the reality is we do have to pray. I have to pray we have to all come together and pray for our country, our society, everything that's going on, because nobody knows what somebody else is dealing with until they're in their shoes. And I tell you, we're all hurting right now in one way or another. You know, we all have private lives as well. It's not just this job, or it may not just be a restaurant job, or it may not just be whatever it is that everybody does in our community. Everybody's hurting right now one way or another. And so for that, I do have to say, we do have to pray for that and make sure that anybody that's having mental issues or that needs to talk to somebody, please reach out. There is never there should never be, I don't want to hear somebody taking their life because we didn't do enough. We want to do what is best for our community. So I encourage people to go out. I encourage people to talk. If they need to talk to somebody, get help. We are here to help you. I know there is churches that would love to talk to you, or anybody in the community. I mean, just call somebody for help. I'm more than sure that if you call the fire department, somebody will be there to talk to you instead of, they want to talk to you instead of coming out for the unexpected. I also want to thank Public Works for all the work that they're doing during the summer. I mean, they do work all the time, and I tell you, with the floods the other day, I was very impressed. Everybody came out and helped out, and I see them cutting the grass around town and doing all these things that a lot of the people don't take for granted. So thank you for that. And I also wanted to make another comment. Brad Epperly, thank you so much for the work that you're trying to do right now for Jill's Body Camp. I know we're not going to have a Jill's Body Camp this year, but I know that you're not going to disappoint us on getting something, a care package for these kids that won't have the summer camp this summer. So I thank you for that already. And God bless everybody, and just be safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else to come before council? If not, then we are adjourned.